everybody, welcome back to IP Farms. Well, it's another day here, Saturday. A little cooler this morning, no big deal. I don't know if you can see here in the background, got Dad's tractor tore all to pieces as usual. Let me go over a few things here with you, and I'll explain. I think this is going to be the beginning to the repair videos that I plan on doing here, getting this thing in line, doing a few things it needs before springtime gets here, so stay tuned. Always good when you get a goodie box in. Went ahead and ordered some parts. Air cleaner housing was missing, got a new one of those. Got a little upgraded air cleaner stack here for it. Shut off cable, it's there and works, but it's got somebody's welded a little metal washer on it, so I'm gonna put a regular one on. Got a new ignition switch, new light switch, and of course, let's see what else we got here. Brake shoes for it. They were coated with oil, and we've got all the seals and bearings and things in. We've already got everything apart. I didn't get much footage of that. We had a time trying to figure out how we were going to get my buddy's press set up to get those bearings off. So I'm going to try to get you as much footage as I possibly can as we go back along and explain some while I'm working. The first thing I've got to do, as you can see how oily everything is, I've got to get some the backing plates cleaned up so that we can get the new races back in, the bearings on the axles, and I'll just explain a little bit as we go along, so stay tuned. I had some contaminated diesel fuel that had some water in it, so we're utilizing a kiddie pool that I had bought for my grandson a long time ago that he never did use here. And I've got both the backing plates in it soaking. They were just, the seals have been leaking forever, and they're just nasty. So got the brake parts there in two little containers. We got to get a parts brush and get working on these, get them cleaned up, and hopefully get the races and stuff knocked back in them. So enough talking, let's get to work. Okay, let's get started. I found over the years the best way, in my opinion, to get the majority of grease and oil off of something is either with gas or diesel fuel if you have a container big enough, which we do with a pool here. That's what we're working on. Very expensive, but we had some of this contaminated fuel that had some water in it, so utilizing that pretty good. Let's see, we pressed the bearings off the axle. That was an ordeal, like I said. My buddy's press almost wasn't big enough, not range wise, just wasn't long enough to get the axle in there. And going back, I don't really know the proper way. We're going to build a socket. I've got a 2 3/4 inch big axle nut socket coming. We're going to cut the drive part out of it, probably weld a piece of pipe on it. These axle nuts, axle bearing nuts are supposed to be torqued at 250 foot-pounds, if I'm not mistaken. I think in the earlier 2000s, some different, maybe the 3000s, they had a different style bearing retaining system on it. This has just got a big nut. I'll show you in a minute. So gonna be some fabrication on that for sure. And of course, cleaning all this mess up. It's got years and years of grime and muck on it, so I'm gonna get the majority of it off in here. We'll clean it up with some brake clean, see if we can't go from there. So put you guys on some time lapse here and see if we can get these cleaned up. I'm sure I'm gonna smell like a diesel fuel factory before the day's over. Well, we got everything cleaned up. Brought it back to 1971 blue there, just about. Got all the old gear oil and grease and everything else off of them. Cleaned up. I don't know if I mentioned it. Let's see, driver's side, I got to take the backing plate off, or whatever that thing is that holds the brakes. It's broke. It's been welded before. I need to weld it back up. So we're going to try to work on the passenger side here, getting the bearing on the axle and getting everything back together. And then I've got to wait on my socket to come in to build the Frankenstein tool to tighten these axle nuts down to 250 foot-pounds is what they call for. So I'll try to get some. My buddy's here with me. I'll try to get the camera up where we don't show him, but get some of the work, and I'll explain it as we go. Okay, got it setting up on a block here. New race. We're gonna tap it in like we've done before in the past. Right or wrong, I'm doing it. So what I'll do is probably get you some footage of this side, and then we'll just say that everything on the other side is the same as this side, and I won't worry about doing but one side. Let me put you on high speed and we'll go from there. Alright, we got the race in, flipped it over. Now I'm gonna see if I can get this seal in without messing it up. Once we get the seal in, we'll flip it over, put the axle in, and start the process of getting the bearing on there. Alright, we got the seal in. Put a little oil on it before we start putting it over the axle shaft. Apologize about the audio. Got a heater running right beside me here. Y'all all know why. Okay, we're gonna pack some grease in now. See how good this works. Get the bearing greased up and we'll start driving it home, I reckon. I don't know, I'm sure I'll get ridiculed for packing the bearing this way, but well, I've always done it. Don't have any problems yet, so. Alright, here's where the confusion comes in. Some people put them back on with a cold chisel, take them off with a cold chisel, which I did some. The other nut was awful. But there's some kind of special socket, I think, that the book calls for. But we're gonna swing for the fences with our Frankenstein, possibly. Because it really is supposed to be, like I said before, 250 foot-pounds of torque. Which I don't think I'm going to get that, but we're going to get close. So let's see if I can get this nut started on there. It's real fine threads, and we got the bearing in, and we'll go from there. I think we'll call this one part one. Ran into a little bit of an issue on the reassembly here of the first axle. I'll show you why here in a second on the outro. Alright, I just can't make myself do a 25 or 30-minute video boring you guys with all this. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. But we ran into a little bit of an issue with this one side. We got the race in, got the seal in, showed you all that. Sorry about the audio, the heater was running right beside of me. But we ran into an issue with this axle nut here. I ordered 2 new ones when I did, simply because the old ones had cold chisel marks all over them where somebody had, taken them off and on. Thought, put some new ones in it while we're doing bearing seals and everything. Well, the quality control on these, I'm not going to say where I got them or whatever, is just awful. I'm going to send them back because we chased threads out for 15 or 20 minutes and it won't even start on the axle. They're very fine threads and I'm not going to take a chance. So, stop for today on that. Waiting on the socket, like I said, for the Frankenstein tool, so we'll just wrap this one up. On the next video, I'll get you some building of that tool, putting these axle nuts on and trying to get as close to 250 foot-pounds of torque as we can. Putting the assembly back together, checking the end play on the axle bearings with the shims, setting that up, and then putting the brake shoes on. Call that one a video, and if you guys are still interested in seeing more, I'll definitely film some more. But regardless of that, thank you for following on the journey with me here. Starting a new path with another tool in the arsenal here. I'm looking real forward to getting this thing where it needs to be, and Dad's super excited about it, and that's what it's all about for me. So we'll get him going here before long, and when the weather breaks and springtime's here, you'll see this unit making some hay here at IP Farms. Thank you everybody for all you do. Till next time.